Hey everyone, Rob Van Dyson here again, once again back up at Hobble Creek to do my video. I kind of took the holiday season off, but I decided I need to get back into it, so here I am. So one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about stemmed from Unloose the Goose podcast a while ago, where they were talking about religion, and this person has also said it in their own podcast, and that person is Professor CJ from the Dangerous History podcast, and that's one of the podcasts that I listen to. I get a lot of good information on it. I don't always agree with the way he's coming at it, or the conclusions he draws from it, but I get a lot of good information, and honestly, if I was just listening to podcasts that agreed with exactly what I say or what I think, what's the point? You find yourself in an echo chamber where you're proof texting. You're saying, okay, well, proof texting as it was introduced to me comes from a religious standpoint where you take the Bible, for instance, and you say, well, it says this in the Bible, therefore, rah. And you draw your conclusion from it. But whereas if you were to take that one little snippet that they gave you, find out the source of that and actually read the chapter and read the chapter before and after, you actually might get a very different opinion on what that particular verse meant. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. It is just something to be aware of. And just, there are some podcasts I listen to. There's one podcast I listen to, this is Star Wars podcast, where my personal opinion is they have good information about Star Wars, but they're idiots. Not a fan of them personally. And sometimes I've even debated whether I want to keep on listening to them. In fact, I almost unsubscribed from them. Just because I'm like, I don't need this. I'm here for the Star Wars, not for their particular view on politics. But anyway, Professor CJ is, depending upon what you want to call it, either an anarchist or a voluntarist or an agorist. There's a lot of words out there that kind of mean the same thing, and I consider myself a voluntarist. But what he was saying is that he does not believe that organized religion fits within the let's just call it voluntarist philosophy. Now I happen to disagree with him on this. So those of you who know me, especially who know me over the last couple of years, because I've changed a lot. From like high school and stuff like that. And honestly, I'm 41. If I still had the same views I had when I was in high school, you'd have to wonder about it. But anyway, this is my particular view, is that I believe in voluntary association. Meaning that I associate with the people I want to, and no one should be able to force me to have to interact with people I don't want to. Well, how does that fit with this thing of, if you are a voluntarist or anything like that, or an anarchist or anything like that, that organized religion is counter to that. Well, here's my thought. I went to church today. I actually made a decision, and I actually went with a halfway decent attitude. And honestly, I think I've gotten more sitting out here than I did from sitting in that building. But you know who made me go to church? No one. No one can make me go to church. I'm 41, as I said. My wife can't make me go to church. She can, strongly encourage, and she doesn't do this, but she could make my life miserable if I don't go to church, where it's more worth it for me to go to church just to have an easier life. but no one makes me go to church. No one makes me go to the church I go to. I can choose to go to another church very freely. I can, heck, choose to go to another congregation in my church if I really wanted to, and no one's really going to stop me. I voluntarily choose to associate with those people. Do I like all of them? No. There are people in there who actually I do like, but I have almost nothing in common with them. And so we'll sit there, we'll talk, and that kind of stuff. Usually the conversation peters out fairly quickly just because, they're into different things than I am. They have different philosophies than I do. And the thing that I'm really trying to drive home here is that as much as sometimes I want to be, I do not exist here as an island, and my island is bigger than just me and my family. I live on a continent surrounded by other people. What they do affects me, what I do affects them to greater or lesser extents. But if I voluntarily choose to believe in a God, then I see no conflict with that and voluntarism, or anarchy even. If you want to go straight hardcore anarchy, the true sense of anarchy, the actual definition of anarchy, and not the scary word that they throw around in the news media, basically is that there is no government. Now, obviously, people in government don't like that idea, and a lot of people who depend upon government don't like that idea, so they've made it a big scary word. It really isn't. But especially in my particular religion, and I'm not going to go too deep into this because I know not everyone believes in that particular religion, but I go through my scriptures, and there may be some exceptions like in the Old Testament, but I don't see go out with the sword and convert people that way. The words that I see primarily are to exhort, to expound. And what do those mean? Well, to exhort is, hey, you really should do this. Hey, take a look at this. Expound. Okay, you know what? This is what this says. This is my interpretation of what this means. This is what I believe this particular scripture means. This is what I believe this particular doctrine means. And as long as I am free to choose whether or not I'm going to participate and with whom I'm going to participate, I personally see no conflict. And that's actually just something that's been on my mind for a couple of days. And I don't know how many of you it's going to actually mean a hill of beans to. But I see no conflict as long as it's not enforced. If the government were to come and say, you all have to belong to the church of blank, or you are all not allowed to go to church, then that's where I see the problem. That as long as you freely, truly, voluntarily participate in any organization. There's a college. I live here in Utah County. There's two major universities here. UVU, which is a Utah Valley University. It's a public school, public university. And Brigham Young University, BYU. And to go to BYU, they say, if you want to go to this school, you have to abide by our honor code. You have to abide by these other rules. And honestly, I don't see a problem with that, because I can look at that and say, am I willing to live by those rules? Yay or nay? And if I'm not, I'll just go to UVU, which, by the way, I did. And because of that, I see no conflict. is a voluntary association. If you want to say, I believe in these principles, or I value the benefits of belonging to a certain organization, whether it's educational, religious, otherwise. I also belong to the Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW. Yes, I have a lot of acronyms in my life. They have certain codes of conduct. I personally don't have a problem with them. I can see where other people might legitimately have problems with the codes of conduct of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, or attending Brigham Young University, or being part of a certain religious organization. As long as it's not enforced, who cares? If you want to go to Brigham Young University because they have the best program for whatever, I don't even know, what they're particularly known for, then you have to make a decision. Am I willing to live by their honor code and all the other rules that go along with it? If not, well, you have other options. There's other schools that are probably just as good or almost as good that BYU would offer. You have options. But I do not believe that by being an anarchist or a voluntarist or an agorist or any of the other elks of our variations of those particular philosophies, that means you can't belong to any of those organizations, or that God doesn't exist. But anyway, that's my personal view. Let me know what you think in the comments. Alright, so this is Rob Van Dyson once again from Hobble Creek. I'm encouraging all of you to evaluate your dreams, figure out what you need to do to get to them, and to do them. Alright, Van Dyson out.